Have you ever had that moment at work where it felt like a simple disagreement was about to explode into something much bigger? Maybe it was a miscommunication, a clashing of ideas, or even a personality difference. Whatever the reason, workplace conflicts can feel overwhelming, and they can leave us feeling drained and stressed. Welcome to Inspire Canal Media, where we guide you through personal and professional growth to unlock your full potential. I'm Didier, and today, we're tackling a skill that's not only crucial for professional success, but also for personal peace: how to master conflict resolution. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button so that you don't miss any future videos that we release. By the end of this video, you'll understand conflict resolution strategies that work in the real world, with step-by-step tools to tackle tough conversations and transform potential disasters into powerful collaborations. So if you're ready to turn workplace conflict into career growth, let's dive right in. This video will be divided into 5 parts. Part 1. Understanding conflict. Before we dive into resolving conflicts, let's take a step back to understand what conflict really is. Conflict is natural. It's simply a situation where 2 or more people have opposing ideas, needs, or values. In the workplace, this could be a debate over project direction, differences in communication styles, or clashing goals between departments. Let's say, for example, you're part of a marketing team, and your vision for a campaign clashes with that of your colleague in sales. It's a classic scenario, and without the right tools, it can escalate, leading to resentment and communication breakdown. But here's the good news. When approached correctly, conflict doesn't have to be destructive. In fact, it can be incredibly productive. Some of the best ideas come from people with differing opinions coming together to find a middle ground. Part 2. Common pain points in workplace conflicts. Now, let's talk about the pain points. We've all been there. Situations where we feel unheard, defensive, or maybe even unfairly criticized. These pain points are what make conflict so difficult. 1. Miscommunication. Miscommunication is often the root of workplace conflicts, and it's usually less about the content and more about the way it was conveyed. Imagine a colleague gives you feedback on your work, but their tone feels critical rather than constructive. Their intent may have been helpful, but the choice of words or delivery style makes you feel undervalued or even attacked. Misinterpretations can happen easily, especially in written messages, where tone is hard to gauge. Miscommunication can lead to defensiveness or resentment, not because of the feedback itself, but because of how it was expressed. Practicing active listening, clarifying intentions, and using empathetic language can go a long way in preventing these issues. 2. Personality clashes. In any workplace, different personality types can lead to clashes, and it's not always because people dislike each other. It's often about contrasting work styles. For example, if you're laid back and value flexibility, you may feel friction working with a highly detail-oriented colleague who prefers a structured approach and sticks strictly to deadlines. This difference can create tension, especially when each person feels that their way is best for the team or project. It's crucial to recognize and respect these differences, as they bring diverse strengths to the workplace. By finding common ground or adjusting your approach, you can transform personality differences into complementary strengths. 3. Power dynamics. In hierarchical work environments, power dynamics can stifle open communication, making employees feel hesitant to speak up for fear of jeopardizing their job or relationships. For instance, if you're working on a project and feel that a supervisor's suggestion isn't effective, you might hesitate to voice your concerns out of worry that it could affect your performance review. This imbalance can lead to unresolved conflicts and unspoken grievances, which can accumulate over time. Encouraging open dialogue and fostering a culture where feedback can flow in both directions, regardless of role, can greatly enhance mutual respect and understanding in these settings. 4. Lack of compromise. Conflicts often reach an impasse when both parties are so committed to their own perspective that they're unwilling to consider alternatives. This is common in high-stakes discussions where each person believes their approach is essential for success. For example, imagine two team members debating over project priorities. One insists on quality, while the other pushes for speed. If neither party is willing to budge, the result is a standstill, making it difficult to find a solution that works for the team as a whole. Cultivating a willingness to listen, reflect, and incorporate parts of each viewpoint can lead to innovative solutions and help both sides feel valued. Identifying these pain points is the first step toward resolving them. Conflict is often not about the issue at hand, but about underlying frustrations, insecurities, and differences. Part 3. Key techniques for mastering conflict resolution. All right, now that we understand the roots of conflict, let's get into the techniques for resolving it. Practice active listening. In the heat of a conflict, our natural reaction is often to focus on defending our own viewpoint or proving a point, which can make the other person feel unheard and escalate the situation. Active listening is a powerful tool that involves fully focusing on the speaker, processing their words, and showing that you truly understand what they're expressing. For example, instead of nodding along while mentally preparing your response, aim to truly grasp the root of their concern. Maintain eye contact, refrain from interrupting, and use body language to show you're engaged, such as nodding or leaning slightly forward. If a colleague is expressing stress over a looming deadline, you could say, "I hear that you're worried about the deadline. Could you tell me more about what's stressing you out?" This open-ended question not only shows you're interested in understanding, but also encourages the other person to share more deeply, which can diffuse tension and foster collaboration. Stay calm and composed. When emotions run high, it's challenging to stay rational, and impulsive reactions often lead to further conflict. Taking a moment to pause, breathe, and ground yourself can make all the difference. This brief pause allows you to approach the conversation with a calmer mindset, which is crucial for constructive communication. If you find yourself getting agitated, try saying, "I'd like to take a moment to gather my thoughts so we can have a constructive discussion." This approach shows emotional maturity, signals that you're invested in a positive outcome, and can even encourage the other person to mirror your calm demeanor. A simple practice like counting to 5, inhaling deeply, or even jotting down a few points to discuss before you respond can be powerful in maintaining composure and keeping the conversation productive. Acknowledge and validate the other person's perspective. Acknowledgement and validation are key in conflict resolution because they show the other person that their feelings and perspectives are respected, even if you don't necessarily agree. Acknowledgement doesn't mean you concede your point. It simply means you recognize the validity of their experience and emotions. You might say, "I understand why you feel that way," or "I see that this situation is challenging for you." This simple act can immediately soften the conversation and reduce defensiveness. By acknowledging their perspective, you create an environment of mutual respect, which encourages them to reciprocate and opens the door for a more balanced, respectful dialogue. Use I statements. I statements are effective because they allow you to communicate your feelings without casting blame or making the other person feel attacked. Instead of focusing on what the other person is doing wrong, you emphasize your own experiences and needs, which makes it easier for the other person to listen without becoming defensive. For example, instead of saying, "You're not pulling your weight on this project," which might feel accusatory, try saying, "I feel overwhelmed by the amount of work I'm handling and I'd appreciate more support." This phrasing shifts the focus onto your experience rather than accusing the other person, encouraging a collaborative solution. Using I statements can reduce conflict escalation and foster understanding, making it easier to find a path forward that meets everyone's needs. Part 4. Practical tips for conflict management. Focus on the issue, not the person. Hey, when things get tense, it's so easy to make it about the person instead of the problem. But trust me, it makes a huge difference when you focus on the issue itself. Think about saying, let's find a better way to handle this process, instead of your way isn't working. Keep it less personal and way more productive. Approach the conflict early. Ever had something small that bothered you and then it just grew and grew? Yeah, it's better to address it early. Small issues are easier to manage than big ones that snowball. So if something's bugging you, set up a quick chat with the person involved. It keeps things clear and helps avoid those bigger blow-ups later on. Be open to compromise. We all love sticking to our guns, but in conflict, flexibility is your friend. Be open to different solutions. Try saying, let's find something that works for both of us. It shifts the tone to teamwork instead of me versus you. Compromise can get you to a place where everyone feels heard. Use positive language. You know how certain phrases can just set people off? Words like, you never, or you always, tend to make people defensive. Instead, go with phrases like, I've noticed that, or it seems like we could improve. This keeps the focus on what can be done and steers clear of pointing fingers. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. One of the best moves in conflict is to really listen. Like, actually listen. Before you start explaining your side, make sure you know where they're coming from. A good line is, if I understand correctly, you're concerned about, is that right? When people feel heard, they're way more likely to listen back. Focus on solutions, not blame. Instead of getting stuck on what went wrong, focus on what can be done to fix things. Blame feels satisfying in the moment, but it doesn't actually solve anything. Try saying, how can we prevent this in the future? It keeps things forward-thinking and shows you're looking for a positive outcome. Establish clear, agreed-upon actions. Once you've had the conversation, wrap it up by setting some clear next steps. Maybe say something like, all right, so we're going to insert action by next Friday, right? Having concrete action steps helps avoid any lingering confusion and shows you're serious about moving forward. Seek mediation if necessary. Sometimes, even after your best efforts, you might need a bit of backup. Don't hesitate to bring in a neutral third party, like a manager or HR rep, who can keep the discussion balanced. It's nothing personal. Sometimes a fresh perspective can help reveal solutions you might not have seen on your own. Reflect and learn. Okay, so after everything's said and done, take a few minutes to reflect. Ask yourself, what could I have done differently? What actually caused the conflict? Reflecting on what happened makes it easier to handle things even better the next time something like this comes up. Maintain a professional, respectful demeanor. Look, staying calm and respectful is probably the best way to keep things constructive. It's tough to do when emotions are high, but if you can keep your tone level and avoid things like eye-rolling or sighs, you'll set a good example. It helps keep the whole conversation productive and can even encourage the other person to keep things professional too. Part 5. Long-term strategies to improve conflict resolution skills. Conflict resolution isn't just a one-time skill, it's something you can continue to develop. Let's look at some strategies for ongoing improvement. Reflect regularly. After any conflict, whether it went smoothly or was challenging, take a few moments to reflect. Think about what went well. Did you manage to stay calm? Were you able to communicate your points effectively? Then, consider areas where there might be room for improvement. Ask yourself, what could I have done differently? Or, how could I have approached this conversation more constructively? This regular self-reflection helps you pinpoint both your strengths and areas for growth, making each experience a learning opportunity. Seek feedback. Feedback is invaluable for growth, especially when it comes to conflict resolution. If you have a mentor, supervisor, or trusted peer, ask for their thoughts on your approach. You could say something like, "I'd love to hear how you think I handled that situation. Is there anything I could improve next time?" They might notice things you don't, offering insights that help you see blind spots or suggesting ways to refine your technique. Plus, this openness to feedback shows others that you're serious about self-improvement, which can build trust and respect among colleagues. Practice patience. Developing conflict resolution skills isn't an overnight process. It's a journey that takes patience, especially in high-pressure environments. Patience allows you to give yourself room to grow and learn without feeling the pressure to be perfect right away. When you're patient with yourself, it becomes easier to be patient with others in the heat of a disagreement. Over time, this patience fosters a more open mindset and reduces impulsive reactions, which is key to resolving conflicts constructively. Mastering conflict resolution is one of the most valuable skills you can have in any workplace. It transforms the way you interact with others, building trust, respect, and stronger working relationships. Remember, it's not about winning or losing, but finding solutions that work for everyone. So the next time you face a workplace conflict, take a deep breath, practice active listening, and apply the techniques we discussed today. I guarantee you'll notice a difference. If you found value in this video, hit that like button, share it with your colleagues, and subscribe to Inspire Canal Media for more insights to elevate your personal and professional growth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.